Hey everyone, it's Kat from earthmason.com and I want to show you today my setup for growing tomatoes on my patio, how I grow them, what I grow them in, and I'm going to actually be planting some today. So what I've got here is a large ceramic pot, and I filled it with soil, and then I have a layer of leaf mulch. And I always put leaf mulch on these beds in the fall time. They break down over the winter. This has broken down quite a bit, and it becomes nutrients that goes into the soil. So I do this every year. I actually am going to be pulling this off and rotating some of it into the soil and then adding new soil on top. And then I'm also going to show you which varieties of tomatoes I've picked and how I'm going to place them in the pot. To get these beds ready, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off just gently. I have a container here. It's just a seedling tray. You could use whatever you want. If you've had mulch over the winter. If you don't have mulch that you've already worked with, that's fine. You're just going to skip this step. But this is pretty much a reawakening the bed after the cold months, because everything kind of just sits and settles in the pot, and it's nice to just revitalize it a bit, that spring waking up feeling. And what I'm gonna do, you can use a tool, or like I've got a little rake thing here. You can use your hands if you wanted to, and do like a twisting motion. I'm going to add some of the mulch, and I'm actually going to work it in. This is just leaf mulch that I got from the city of Victoria. And usually if you do a little bit of searching online, you'll find sources of leaf mulch that your city, your municipality. And what I want to also do is I just want to incorporate some of my potting mix and just work it in. Gardening kind of reminds me of cooking. You can work food with your hands the same way you can with soil. So I've got a Hawaiian currant, cherry tomato variety. I've got a black cherry Roma tomato here. I don't have that, it's not ready yet, so I'm just gonna put the other currant right there. So now that we've made this placement of where each plant is gonna go, now we can use a little shovel. The thing about planting tomatoes is that the stem, all along the stem, roots can grow. If you plant it deep, then you have more opportunities along the stem to create roots, which then creates a stronger root system for the tomato plant. After we've dug the hole, something I always do, frass, the fertilizer that I've talked about in a lot of my other videos, and the plants love it. Maybe like a teaspoon in there, and then I put a little bit of soil and then I mix it up. This is one of my plants. I'm going to take these little suckers that are growing along the bottom, because I'm going to be burying this. And you want to turn over and kind of squeeze the bottom. You just want to gently squish the roots and then place it, and we really want to put it snug in there, and we just tamp that down, and then we rinse and repeat. A tip on watering: you actually want to create an indent close to the center of the pot rather than having a flat surface. And what this is going to do is going to create this reservoir in the pot. So you have to make sure that you're conserving water as much as you can, especially in dry climates. I'm gonna actually protect the first layer of the soil. The tomatoes that I planted in this one last year, because I didn't have mulch on them, it was a nightmare trying to keep up with all the watering. The last thing we're gonna do is water. We want to make sure that when we water tomatoes, we water all the way through and really give them a good soak. What's great about this mulch is when you pull the mulch back and feel the soil, it's nice and fluffy. It keeps that fluffiness because you're not compacting the soil every time you water it. So this is how I grow tomatoes every single year. For the past 3 years, I've been using these pots and creating a micro ecosystem in each pot. It's tricky sometimes to work with containers, and you really have to deliberately amend the soil and put a lot of the organic matter in the soil. The last thing I want to show is how I handle drainage with these large pots. A lot of advice will say you just need a hole in the pot and you need rocks in the bottom in the pot. But the problem with that is it can actually trap water instead of adequately letting it flow out. So what I've done is this is just filled with soil, and then I put the rock layer at the very bottom in a container. So that's how I grow tomatoes in these large pots.